Hey there everyone, I'm meteorologist Cassie Knoll and this is your 10 weather impact recap for the week. Let's start with a look at some of the top weather stories from around the country. In Hawaii, heavy rain, thunderstorms and powerful winds knocked out power and damaged homes. Crews responded to several incidents triggered by the severe weather across the state, including one neighborhood where a large tree toppled and hoisted up a car. The wind was particularly powerful in West Maui, which saw wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. Back in the lower 48, some people do dry January, but unfortunately for the state of Colorado, Mother Nature also did dry January and dry December and November. The dry and warm pattern has set up the Centennial State with their worst snowpack to date, and the lack of wintry weather is impacting the economy. At least 3 Colorado ski resorts have reduced hours for part-time employees as the historic lack of snowfall leaves the runs closed and visitor numbers down. Spencer Soysher shares the story.
If you're into skiing, there have been better Colorado winters.
Definitely the worst season I've ever seen. And I mean, I've been skiing for 20 years.
This year is Allie's first winter working at a ski resort, except she's not working like she thought she would.
When I was hired in November, I was expecting to start working full-time in mid-December, and I think I had 1 full week so far.
2 days a week. That's all she's needed. Not enough snow, not enough skiers.
I'm trying to find a second part-time job.
Allie's not comfortable publicly sharing where she works, though we verified it. And her employer is not the only one reducing employee hours.
We don't have snow. Nowhere does.
Arapahoe Basin says it's cut hours for its hourly employees too. Less of the ski area is open than it typically is this time of year, and it needs fewer people to run it. In Steamboat, they have 75% of their skiable acreage open, and they aren't operating at the level they recruited and staffed last fall.
It's pretty sad.
For seasonal workers like Allie, this season could push them toward it being their last.
It's kind of that mixed feeling of loving skiing, but also want to make sure I get consistent hours.
And Utah isn't faring much better than Colorado. For the month of January, Salt Lake City only measured 1/10 of an inch of snow, more than 30 inches below average. And to put that into perspective, parts of the Florida Panhandle had 1.3 inches of snow during one of the numerous winter storms that we've had in the east this year. The lack of winter weather in the west isn't just a concern for people who want to ski. It affects the local economy and sets up the region for water supply and fire issues moving into the spring and summer seasons. Thankfully, a change in the weather pattern should help to bring much needed rain and snow to the west over the next week. In Missouri, huge icicles are dangling off the water tower in one town north of St. Louis. A small leak has become a giant ice sculpture over the winter season, and even with warmer temperatures in the forecast, it's going to take some time for this spectacle to thaw. Tracy Henson shares the story.
It's ugly. It's very ugly.
Donna Elman Hicks can see the Portage de Sioux water tower from her driveway.
Oh, it looks a mess.
Shortly after talking to Donna, her sister Jill Newsom pulled into the driveway.
I have never in my life seen anything like that.
The leak started in January. From far away and high up, it doesn't look like much, but it's actually about the size of a garden hose stream. Surprisingly, the leak is causing no disruptions to the water service in town.
It supplies the whole neighborhood, the whole town, and it's not affected. So that's kind of strange, but good.
The mayor of Portage de Sioux, Mark Warner, agreed, telling us the unintentional ice sculpture isn't a risk for collapsing under the weight either.
They just need to fix it.
Mayor Warner says that is next, but it has to warm up first, and we're nearly there. The Tank and Tower Company says it needs to be in the mid-40s.
Bring it on. Spring, bring on.
Everyone in town is hoping it thaws slowly so those icicles don't come catapulting down to the ground, though that would be impressive.
Well, I'm hoping that it's just a nice, slow, so it'll kind of look cool coming down and not a big old burst.
Which brings us to the disclaimer of the story. Falling icicles are quite dangerous. Admire this temporary ice sculpture.
It's just a sight to see.
From a safe distance, especially as it starts to melt away.
In northern Indiana, the cold weather is bringing people together on the campus of Notre Dame. It all started with one igloo that inspired a whole dorm community to create an ice chapel. They call it the St. Olaf Ice Chapel. The frozen structure features pointed arches and a central tower that mirrors Notre Dame's iconic basilica. It's even big enough to walk inside. In Vermont, Lake Champlain is almost completely frozen over, something that doesn't happen very often. And as is typical in the Green Mountain State, people are making the best of the winter conditions. Abigail Sachs shares the story from Burlington.
The lake hasn't frozen like this, I feel like, for a really long time.
Ashley Horton has lived in Burlington for over 25 years. Sunday, she explored the ice sheet with her dog, Finch.
I'm watching him dive in snow. I mean, he's not loving the ice because it's so slippery. So I kind of have to coax him out, but then he'll come back to shore.
Finch, a Norwegian elk hound, thrives in the cold. Horton says he's made her appreciate getting outside in the winter more.
It's so beautiful, the mountains, and it's it kind of feels like you're in a different world, you're on another planet.
She's not the only one. Bill Morris grew up in Vermont and says he's seen the lake close less and less over the years.
As a kid growing up in Vermont, there really was winter after winter of knowing that the lake froze over, and just it's gone much more infrequent since then.
The National Weather Service says that they actually like when it snows so that they can see where it's actually frozen and what parts are still open water, which right now is just a small little circle. So they're predicting that within the next few days, it should be completely closed.
Some of that thin ice that's over the broad waters is a little bit more transparent. And so when you're looking straight down at it from a satellite, it's hard to tell whether or not it's ice or if it's open water.
Tyler Danzig is a meteorologist for the National Weather Service and says they're predicting Monday or Tuesday will be the day that the ice completely closes. The last time this happened was 2019.
So it's been quite a while since we've had a full lake freeze.
They make this distinction through satellite and drone imagery, as well as reports from the Coast Guard. If you do decide to venture out, Danzig recommends wearing a life jacket, carrying ice picks, and testing the thickness as you go out.
We don't want people walking across the lake from Vermont to New York, especially across the broad waters. You don't know how thick that ice is going to be.
Closer to the shore is where the ice tends to be safer, which is where Morris and Horton stay.
This is just a way of busting out of the cabin fever and getting out and appreciating winter for what it is.
Lake Erie is also almost completely frozen over and has huge ice dunes. Onlookers are enjoying nature's beauty, but from a distance. The dunes are created by waves and freezing temperatures, forming hollow spaces between the ice that can collapse without warning, so you want to keep your distance there. And check this out. The cold weather this season has allowed that ice to cover nearly 100% of Lake Erie, which is quite rare. But a shift in the wind caused this to happen last week. Look at that, a massive crack formed in the ice sheet. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, says that the crack is approximately 80 miles long and stretches from near Port Burwell in Canada to near Cleveland, Ohio. But ice-covered bodies of water aren't all fun and games. The Allegheny River in Pittsburgh is shut down to all traffic through March 1st. The U.S. Coast Guard made the announcement last week after bitterly cold temperatures clogged the waterway with ice. Christopher DeRose has more about the potential impacts of that closure.
This is video from the United States Coast Guard's Facebook page of their icebreakers on the Great Lakes this week, smashing through the ice to keep shipping lanes open. But here in Pittsburgh, our rivers don't have any ice-breaking ships, so when waterways like the Allegheny River freeze, there's no getting through, at least until the ice starts to melt.
Currently, we have a safety zone in place for the Allegheny River, and the impact to it is relatively low as it is. Because the river is frozen, most of the industry already had pause operations. That's why we at the Coast Guard, in conjunction with the Waterways Association of Pittsburgh, we came to the same conclusion that the river is currently not navigable, and it's a safety issue for mariners in place.
The Pittsburgh Port District encompasses 13 counties and more than 200 miles of navigable waterways. According to 2020 data from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Pittsburgh is the 5th busiest inland port in the nation, handling more than 15.5 million tons of cargo each year. The Allegheny River is now closed to boats and barges from mile marker 1 at downtown Pittsburgh up to mile marker 72 near East Brady until March 1st. And while the Monongahela and Ohio rivers remain open, that doesn't help Nicholas Enterprises Incorporated and their Freeport terminal at Milepost 29 on the Allegheny.
We do have some business right now that is not barge related, so we can keep our guys somewhat occupied, but the primary source of our revenue does come off the Allegheny River, and we'll just have to wait this out and hope that come March we can be up and running again.
Back here in East Tennessee, the stretch of cold weather from late January into the beginning of February is affecting operations for the official turf supplier for the gardens at the University of Tennessee. The ground is frozen and crews can't harvest the turf at Palmer's Turf Nursery in Dunlap. As Leah Bolin shows us, the farm is still feeling the impacts from the cold temperatures, even though the snow and the ice have melted.
Frozen ground has halted harvesting.
If you ever get on top of the plant while it's still frozen or has frost on it, you can kill the plant because the crown of the plant, which spreads out all its new leaves, if you break it, it breaks the root system.
Afternoon highs thaw the field, but it turns into a mud bath and is still unworkable. Owner Trey Palmer says this pause creates a terrible backlog of orders.
Say we have 25 orders and we can't fulfill those orders and we can't work for 2-3 weeks. Well, the new orders, they keep coming in and it just kind of piles up and it turns into chaos, honestly.
So in the meantime, they're keeping busy by tuning up equipment.
We redid one of the cutting heads on the harvester and we spent all day, turned the blow heater on and stayed warm in the shop.
During peak season, Palmer says they can harvest upwards of 100 pallets of sod a day. This time of year, they're lucky to get a fifth of that amount. While the team here is itching to get back to work, he says for now, they're getting by.
Usually you can get by. It's especially if you've had an established business, but you know, anybody starting out in farming, it's a tough time of year because there's just not a whole lot going on.
Last week marked 1 year since an EF2 tornado ripped across Morgan County, destroying homes and killing 2 people. This is video from the day after and video of the same area now. That tornado was the first on record during the month of February in Morgan County. Local leaders said state and federal disaster funding was limited, but churches and neighbors stepped up to help rebuild. Olivia Digg visited the Deer Lodge community and shares the story.
Here in the Deer Lodge community, there's still evidence of tragedy. Where these downed trees are behind me is the place where 2 people lost their lives, a mother and a daughter. A lot of tragedy, but also a lot of resilience and hope and rebuilding. You can see it in this barn behind me. It's evidence that Morgan County is moving forward. Morgan County still remembers the devastation.
It's like a battle zone. It was a tough night.
The worst of it all, the loss of a mother, Wendy Smith, and her daughter, Felicia Williams. Crystal Tompkins was Felicia's 4th grade teacher.
One of the sweetest girls that you would ever be around. She always was willing to hug, and she always had a smile on her face.
Despite the damage, leaders felt left behind.
It's probably a sore subject when you ask that, because when that happened, we were needing a lot of help.
County Executive Brian Langley said the county didn't qualify for federal aid.
They're saying you got to have $13 million in damages and all this and that statewide. And when you lose lives like we lost here in Morgan County, all that's irrelevant.
Instead, churches, neighbors, friends came together.
What I also saw, besides a large amount of damage, was a large amount of people.
A year has passed and people still remember the tragedy that struck on February the 6th. But what's sticking with them is the way the community came together. Reporting in Deer Lodge, I'm Olivia Digg.
In Unicoi County, Ballad Health is building a new hospital after floodwaters from Hurricane Helene destroyed the original building in September of 2024. The old hospital was located in Irwin on a floodplain along the Nolichucky River. And on the day the storm hit, crews used helicopters to rescue more than 24 patients and staff from the roof. The mayor says the new hospital will be built in the town of Unicoi. Ballad Health plans to start construction in the spring and expects the project to take almost 2 years to be finished. Back in January, the Tennessee Valley Authority shared a new way that it is working to keep the lights on during inclement weather. Reporter Leah Bolden gives us a bird's eye view of the new technology.
Today, we're getting an up-close and up-in-the-air look at how TVA keeps our power reliable before, during, and after storms roll through. With this plane, crews collect data from the sky with first-of-its-kind technology that builds 3D maps of the area. Power lines that TVA manages must stay clear of any obstructions like tall trees.
It identifies those trees that could be a potential problem, and we can remove those and make the system stronger, more resilient, and better able to handle the storm.
After the storm, the team can compare three-dimensional scans and see what's changed.
So this can identify trees that might have started uprooting due to ice or something like that have come a little closer to the conductor, things that are imminent threats, things that are likely to cause an immediate outage, so we can respond to those as well.
If this weekend storm causes significant damage, crews can respond quicker than ever before.
So this is the first big winter storm that we're going to have the opportunity to go and inspect and see the difference of, well, what has changed and be able to utilize this equipment and this technology.
TVA's Will Sanders says utilizing technology like this has been a game changer compared to walking inspections.
Moving to this, which is even faster, it's even safer, and it really doesn't make mistakes. It directs us to the spots that need attention.
Come May, TVA will have mapped 6,000 miles, far more than what could ever be accomplished through inspections on foot.
Now for a little look back at history. This week in 1960, Knoxville had its largest snow event on record. 17.5 inches of snow fell on February 13th, burying the city under the most snow on record in a single day. Then another 1.3 inches fell on the 14th, bringing the two-day total to 18.8 inches. Folks spent their Valentine's Day in 1960 digging out from under 1.5 feet of heavy, wet snow in the Knoxville area. Now let's get a check of your 7-day forecast, and thankfully we have nothing like that ahead. Thank goodness, just a little bit of rain here and there, some near average temperatures expected for the end of this week. Over our Valentine's Day weekend, we might have some scattered showers now and then on Saturday or into the day Sunday, so check back for updates and details on that. And it looks like as we move into next week, we might be back into the 60s, which will give us some nice spring-like weather for those that want to get outside. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, you can get the latest forecast and watch our 24/7 live radar anytime with the WBIR Plus app. You can download that app for free and watch on your TV.